This meeting to order. It's now 6 p.m., 18 February 2026, City Council meeting. First order, well, let me say I apologize. My camera's not working again. It's aperiodic. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So I apologize, not by intent. Amy, would you like to do roll call?
Perfect. Counselor Campbell.
Present.
Counselor Cannon. I know he's here. I see him. Counselor Estes. I'm not sure if he's here. Counselor Lindmeyer.
Present.
Oh, okay. Counselor Wright.
Here.
And Mayor Anderson.
Present. Great. Thank you guys for doing this lately scheduled meeting. And welcome, Laura. Any addition, corrections, or I'm sorry, agenda additions or corrections? We'll have a couple of other updates on the list there, JUF and Budget Committee. Brenna can tell us about what she knows about logging plans, trucks coming into town, and Charlie will update us on his conversation with Scott Heggie about the reservoir issue in the Dalles. Okay, I'm going to take a minute. Do we have members of the public? I see 0896. Is that Jane? I'll just offer, if we have any members of the public, we'll allow a couple of minutes for public comment. Going once, going twice. If not, and okay. Amy, we don't have minutes, so let's dive right into business. Over to you, Andrea, on the Dreamland contractor for the skate park and the performance bond question.
Great, thanks, Laura. So this meeting we called on short notice because as Laura was developing the contract for Dreamland and reviewing it, the performance and payment bond was a part of that contract, and we had discussed earlier and considered with Dreamland as we were developing the budget how we might be able to pull all of the costs together and afford the project through the grant. Laura informed me that we needed council approval to consider waiving the bond requirement. It's a performance and payment bond, which I think that she can describe for us, and she'll provide us with some thoughts around the risk of waiving it, and then other options that were presented to Dreamland in lieu of the bond, and why those were not chosen by the company. The primary. So how do you want to proceed with this? You want Laura to present now that I've introduced
first, before Laura talks about the options and what typically would be required, can you give us a little more background, Andrea, on why we got to this point?
Well, about 3 months ago, and a lot of it was due to the delay, the LUBA appeal, the conditional use process, and when our project managers were discussing this with Dreamland, they were trying to find ways that we could save money in order to be able to maintain other things within the budget, including the administrative costs that would be reimbursed to the city for planning, engineering, and legal that are not associated with that LUBA appeal. It was the bond came up, and Danielle said, well, yes, yeah, that would be a good idea. We have done other projects and have had the bonds waived. So that was not clearly communicated to Laura, and I apologize, for that. Laura is also developing a more generic construction contract that can be used for all of our construction contracts. And when we came down to final negotiations with regards to the contract, the payment bond was in there, and Laura informed me that we would need council approval to waive it.
Okay. Okay, Laura, maybe you could talk about why we would have a performance and payment bond, what's required, and what the risks might be, not if we don't have that, and what the options are to replace. Is that kind of your spiel for us?
Yes.
Laura?
Mayor Anderson, can you hear me okay?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. I'm on audio on my phone. I apologize for the disjunct image. So for public improvement contracts, it's a requirement of law under Oregon statutes to require a public works bond, a payment bond, and a performance bond. And that is for different purposes. We're only talking about the performance and the payment bond for this meeting. The performance bond is something that you would get from a surety company that guarantees the faithful performance and execution of the contract on all the terms and conditions of the contract. In the event that a contractor walks off the job or doesn't do the work, that's something the city can turn to and say, hey, we still need this project done. And they look to the surety to get that job done, whether they provide a new contractor or they force the contractor to do the work, or they make payment to the city to find someone new to do the work. And so the work gets done. So that's what the performance bond guarantees. The payment bond guarantees payment to third-party contractors, like subcontractors, and the materials and services that are being provided under the base contract. So a performance bond is issued for the same amount and just guarantees that everybody's going to get paid, because the city in these cases only has typically one contract with your general contractor. In this case, Dreamland would be the only contract that the city has. And so anyone that Dreamland would be purchasing materials or services from or using as subcontractors, if they don't end up paying them, or they don't end up paying them the prevailing wage rates, which are required for public works projects like this, then those third-party claimants can make a claim to a surety under a payment bond and make sure that they get paid. So these are public policy reasons to ensure that public works are projects that are getting completed as planned and anticipated and budgeted, and that third parties are going to be paid the right wages for doing those public projects. So that's kind of why they're required. There's exceptions for smaller projects, but for anything above $100,000, which the skate park would be, those are required by statute. There's a couple of alternative forms that carry, like Mayor Anderson said, that there's different risk with accepting different forms of security in lieu of a surety bond, which is sort of the default. Some of those you already allow and you've already adopted as a council under your city code, and it's codified in the city code that the city could allow, instead of a bond for performance and payment, you could get a cashier's check, you could get a irrevocable letter of credit from a bank, or a certified check. So those are three alternative options to the bonds. But if bonds are going to be waived entirely, just because if you don't have bonds at all, it's a risk that if the contractor walks off the job or doesn't do the work in the right way, there's no one the city can turn to get the job done. And if third parties aren't being paid, the city has no ability to pay them, and third parties don't have anyone to go to get paid. So some form of security is typically required. And that's why if the city council is going to waive the requirement for bonds, it needs to be expressed, which is why we're having this special meeting, to talk you through the risk and let you know kind of the reasons to waive versus not waive. See if I can answer any questions that you have on that, and if you would like to move forward with taking formal action to waive the bond requirements, or requiring an alternative form.
Okay, let's thank you, Laura. Let's go around to questions. Let me start. So just to be all on the same page here. So normally the performance and payment bond would be included by the contractor in the cost of the contract. So that's why, as Andrea said, this was a measure to save cost of the project. Okay, you're shaking your head, yes. Second, when you said by statute it's required, but then also by statute we have the authority, if we so decide, to waive. So we're following the law if we waive. Third, so then the risk, as you said, falls to us. I suppose we could litigate with your time, litigate the contractor if there was a failure in performance or payment. Is that so? We would face the risk of whatever that cost is, whatever the cost of fixing the problem would be as well. Okay. Other counselors will ask questions, and then we'll come back to Laura and Andrea to talk about the options, the letter of credit or the certified check approach, maybe. Others have questions. Go ahead, Ron. I see your hand up.
So how much does this save us to waive these two things, these bonds?
I can answer that. It's about it's 3 to 3.5% of the cost of the total project, which is approximately $20,000.
Other questions, Ron? You have any follow up?
So if that were included, how would that impact the budget of the project?
It would impact the budget of the project, and they would have to find savings in other ways, and it would most likely be administrative costs because the other things were added to the project at the request of the public in order to meet conditions of the conditional use hearing, and also to support the desires of the community to have additional landscaping. I think an additional bench for seating and things like that.
Other questions? And Andrea, I'll jump in. Is it correct that John Grimm advised along the way, somewhere maybe late in the game or when we were trying to save money, that at least he, from his perspective, as volunteer project manager and his engineering experience and knowledge of skate parks and his knowledge of Dreamland, that in his view, is it right? Do I interpret this as low risk if we waive?
Yes, and I've had additional conversations, with John and Lee about this, but mainly John in his experience in city engineering. He has never had a bond called in. I know that Laura recently went through an experience where one was, but it is very very rare. And the discussion was, it was sort of a give and take, and Dreamland agreed that this was a possibility because they had the experience of other cities who had waived the bond fees in order for them to fit into a tight budget. One other thing to note is Dreamland doesn't subcontract. There are no third parties. And because this is a grant-funded project, as the project progresses, we pay out as it goes. And if it was to come to if some disaster struck and Dreamland was not able to fill their contract, there would still be funds remaining in the park grant that could support the city in completing the project, requesting a delay.
Okay. Gary, thank you, Andrew. Gary, go ahead.
Thanks, Witt. last week, or earlier this week, I guess it was, Andrew had asked me to contact some cities, and I did that. I contacted 3 cities. I heard back from 2. One was in the city of Driggs, Idaho, and the gentleman I talked to was the public works foreman or administrator, I believe. And he had absolutely nothing but good things to say about DreamWorks or Dreamland. Um, that they went out of their way to help the city save money. They offered ideas on things that could be trimmed here and changed there as the process was going on as cost savings. And he said that if he was to work with them again, he would have no problem waiving any performance bond just because of their past experience. I spoke with a lady from the city of Culver today, and she said it was an absolute wonderful experience. It was a 5-year process. They built 3 sections of a park, a pickleball and the skateboard park and a bicycle park, all together in one area. She said it was altogether it was like nearly a $2 million project with all 3 phases of the park. By far, Dreamland went the most smooth. They actually came up with the idea some ideas for some fundraising efforts for the kids to get involved with. And again, the same thing. They said that I asked specifically about a performance bond, and she said that working with them again, she would have no problem waiving a performance bond with them just based on their past experience. So this sounds like a real uptown outfit to work with.
Well, thank you, Gary. I was going to hold this feedback from you, me, and Andrea based on our calls for a moment, but that's okay. Since you started, let me just jump in. I contacted 3 cities, heard from 2. Bay City, Oregon, the city manager called me back, and I think in their case, 2007 circa was when they had a skate park built. He was not there then, but subsequent, he said it's all been good. And he said more recently, they had another contractor come in and assess their skate park. I think they were thinking of expanding. And the report came in that after 18 years, that skate park is in great shape, especially given the marine conditions down there in Bay City. So they're very happy with the product. I also heard from Gresham. Gresham had Dreamland do some work, I don't know, 15 years ago in a skate park. And the park manager I think I talked to, who was there at the time, said nothing but positives about Dreamland. And they also use Dreamland for other contracts, all successful. So again, like you, Gary, very positive reviews from those 2 communities. I also had a call into Beaverton, but I have not heard from Beaverton. So while we're on that subject, Andrea, did you talk to any other communities that use Dreamland? You're on mute.
I also contacted Driggs, Idaho, and he stated that they had been working with Dreamland for over 20 years, that they were currently working on a 5th phase of the skate park. And, similar to Gary, that they have not had any problems with them, that they've been fantastic to work with. And similar to what we experienced with our budget process in determining the budget, that was probably the most difficult part of it, was trying to figure out, how to afford everything that we wanted.
Okay, well, let's we'll have more time for questions, counselors, and comments. Laura or Andrea, can you describe the contract itself for us? It's a guaranteed maximum price type contract. I mean, what confidence do we have that we're not going to have cost overruns, for example, before we come back, Laura, and talk about options to performance bond and payment bond? Talk to how good we feel about the contract.
Well, Laura is the one that has reviewed and finalized the contract. And as I said before, I believe that the construction contract was intended to be able to be used for future projects. And Laura, you please correct me if that's wrong, but I would like you to speak to this.
Well, I don't have too great of an understanding of the cost. My understanding from talking with your project manager for this project, John Grimm, or one of your project managers, is that there is a little bit of cushion with what is existing for the proposed project costs.
It is a not to exceed contract.
Yeah, it is a not to exceed contract. I think the actual monetary value is $552,000 at a guaranteed maximum price, and it's a form of public construction contract with general terms and conditions, which with the understanding that the city was possibly going to move to a waiver of some of the bond requirements. We've added language in there. I added language in there in regard to liquidated damages and alternative forms of security. But it depends on what the city council wants to do tonight with whether we need to change that. Whatever the council's decision is, I'll make sure the contract is going to reduce the risk as much as possible.
Yeah. Hey, Laura, before we forget, the public works bond, that's not one we're waived. It's
not waivable, and Dreamland knows that. Your project managers know that. Nobody's trying to waive that at this point. Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. Can you go back to the options? What about the cashier's check idea or the letter of credit? Andrea pursued that with Dreamland, I think, a little bit. Are those viable options to give us some confidence of protection?
Well, so I from my understanding, this request is really coming, and for consideration is really coming from the project management team for the city for this project. It's not that Dreamland isn't trying to do this. It's like what Andrea said. They're just trying to reduce costs where there's low risk, and it makes sense to reduce costs to do everything that the city and the community wants to see in this skate park project. So with that, Mayor Anderson, the letter of credit, my understanding is that we'll have a cost of 1.5% of the project amount. So it may be close to $10,000, which again is not budgeted. So if you're going to keep the bond requirement, Andrea said that was about a $20,000 item to issue. So that'll have to come from somewhere in the budget that you're not doing something else with. And I don't know about the time and who makes those decisions on the project. And if you ask for a letter of credit, that too is going to be close to, I believe, a $10,000 ask that will have to come from somewhere in the skate park budget that isn't currently budgeted. I am not aware of what cost it would be to get a cashier's check or a certified check, which are the other two options. But Dreamland has said they don't want to do that, and I'm not sure. Maybe Andrea knows the reasons for that, but they aren't willing to have those alternatives.
Okay. Is Dreamland? I see another phone. Is Dreamland on? Who joined by phone?
That might be Charlie.
Okay. All right. Well, counselors, we don't have to beat this horse to death. So it sounds like 20,000 or at minimum 10,000 is the savings by waiving the performance and payment bond requirement. And that's, it's critical to the project. I take Andrea from, where we are today. So other questions or comments? If there's not more questions or comment, it makes me a little bit uncomfortable because our overall city financial situation is tight. We're we're getting better. We're building reserves, I think Monica would tell us, but it puts the risk on us. On the other hand, it sounds like Dreamland has got a really good track record. I said to Andrea the other day, I said, what if concrete prices double, overnight? Because, there's some political, decision at some level that, COVID happens next week, and, something out of the blue that we don't anticipate happens, it could increase the risk. But, my sense is it's probably a low risk. The consequences are big, the probability is low, so maybe the risk is tolerable. But I don't know, how do the rest of you feel about this? We're taking on a risk here that normally we wouldn't.
I'm sorry, just to respond to that, the city has waived this bond requirement prior with the Rock Creek restoration project due to the fact that there was a lack of bidders and this newer company wasn't able to be bonded. So that
really?
was a time that the city did waive the bonds for Pilati.
Did we do that as official accounts? I don't remember that. Wow. Okay, thanks for that, Andrew. Go ahead, Gary.
Yeah, one of the things that makes it a little more palatable is that if I understood it right, Dreamland doesn't have any subcontractors. So that would be one thing that we wouldn't have to worry about paying, is if a subcontractor's got paid or not. And then also the fact that we're paying as we go, it seems that would really reduce the risk of getting stuck for any material bills and such. So in my mind, it seems like a pretty low risk request.
Okay, thanks, Gary. Ron?
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing Gary was thinking there. In addition, given these rave reviews from other customers of Dreamland, that makes me feel more comfortable. And then also, as I understand, the whole length of this project is a few months.
4 months.
4 months.
Approximately, no guarantee.
Of a significant change in economics or politics or anything that would have an impact on this, that's a pretty short period. So the shorter the period, the lower the risk. So I think I'm okay with that.
Others? Charlie? Go ahead, Charlie.
Yeah, and I think I agree with everything that's been said. And then also the caveat, I don't know where the budget is allocated for the short-term rentals budget, but I know that a certain amount of that money is intended for tourism and recreation, which the skate park would fall into. So if we need to be able to have an allocated avenue for the money generated from STRs, this would be one of them. So I don't know where we're at with that budget, but that would be something where we could siphon some money that's already, directed for tourism. So
Other comments? Anyone? Oh, Noah.
Noah's
Sorry,
got
I
his-
didn't see your hand. Noah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to echo some of the sentiments that have already been expressed. My biggest thought here is it seems just like a very low risk and sort of an acute exposure on our part. So to me, it feels like between them having kind of a stellar reputation, and then it sounded like there was a capped price with a not to exceed. So I guess I was just curious if there was something kind of maybe that I missed earlier, or just something else maybe that I was missing. But it kind of feels like between the capped price and the overall just low risk of exposure here, that it doesn't feel like a huge risk to the city in my mind.
Okay, well, any other comments, questions?
I'll chime in. real quick. I'll just say I was really hesitant when we started this conversation. It just felt a little too risky at first, but now as we've kind of talked through it and I'm understanding it more, I think I'm on board. It seems low risk. And it just, it seems like that it would, I think I feel comfortable moving forward with it. Now that I've kind of, like I said, like we've talked through it and I've heard more information, because at first I was like, no, this is a terrible idea, but I get it now.
So Laura, do we need a motion? You put one in
Yes, you do need a motion, and I can put one in the chat.
We're
for
ready.
you.
It sounds like we're ready.
Yeah.
Oh, good conversation. It's good we're all on the same page.
Okay.
You're going in the chat.
I put one in the chat.
Okay. We all see that. Would anyone like to so move? Gary, thank you.
Oh, you're muted.
You're on mute,
You're
Gary.
muted.
Sorry about that. I had my space bar down, but it didn't work. I move for the city to waive the requirement of Dreamland Skateparks LLC to provide any performance or payment bond as a term of the public construction project for the skate park project pursuant to ORS 279C.390.
Any discussion? Would someone care to second that motion?
I'll second.
Brenna, okay. All in favor? My hand's raised, Amy. Any opposed? None opposed? Okay, looks unanimous. Okay, thank you. Thanks, and thanks all for helping Andrea pull us together last minute so we can move on and get that construction going. Okay.
Good job, Andrea.
Thank you.
We'll turn to updates. Budget committee. Andrea, is that you want to brief that? Thank you,
Thank
Laura.
you, Laura. Thank you very much.
Thanks
you.
for your help on this.
Thank you.
Yes, we are recruiting for budget committee members. The goal is to have as many citizens engaged in the budget process as there are counselors. I know that we have at least one committed person interested in being on the budget committee. I've sent out a few invites to other individuals I know have been on it in the past. My ask is that each of you ask a few people that you know if they would be interested. You don't have to have any experience. Monica is a wonderful teacher and will walk us, through the process and provides a lot of explanation. It's an opportunity for citizens and counselors alike to, make suggestions as to where they would like to see, funds that we have available placed for different things within the city. And our first budget meeting is it, Amy, help me here. Is it, I believe it is April 15th will be the first budget meeting that we need budget committee members for. So I encourage everyone to try to recruit additional members and to let Amy and I know, especially Amy. I think she'll be our record keeper for that. And have them contact her if they're interested in being part of that committee. They do have to be citizens, residents of the city of Mosier.
What was
Hey,
that
Amy.
date again for the first meeting?
April 14th.
Okay.
15.
Thank
it
you.
was-
April 15th, tax day.
Amy and Andrea, I saw Mark again today. Amy, will you take the initiative to provide Mark the form, the application form?
I already sent it to him,
Oh, okay, good.
and I have asked also to post the budget calendar timeline and the application to our website as well.
Okay. Mark, by the way, looks like Mark and Jane have had trouble getting into the Zoom for some reason. The host has another meeting in progress. So
Jane was in here.
yeah, she said she had texted me earlier and she tried multiple times. Mark, you might check with Mark tomorrow and see. He's frustrated that I'm not going to read the whole thing. Okay. Joint use facility. I want to give you guys an update. Last Friday, Rob Miller, Fire Board, and I spent the day in Salem. We testified to the Capital Construction Subcommittee for our ask of $4.5 million. We had 2 minutes among hundreds of other people. We also, in the morning, traipsed the halls of the Capitol. We met, I think, with four of the key members of Capital Construction and/or Ways and Means, and then maybe hit up, I think, maybe 8 staff of 8 other members. And our message was to the point. You can see it in the packet materials that Amy sent out, our letter to the Capital Construction Committee. But basically, our facilities are antiquated and dilapidated. We are construction ready. We have skin in the game. We've raised $4 million. And then the last point was the benefits are going to be widespread once we get the facility built. I detected some connections, some receptivity among some of the members. I think our points are pretty good. The risk side or the challenge side is we learned that there's about $500 million in requests against maybe $80 million that they have to distribute. So our $4.5 million is a big percentage piece of 80 million. So we'll see. But the other point for you all is to be thinking about, in the event we don't get that money from the legislature, and we'll know by early March, what are our next steps? It's very clear the fire district is ready to move on and maybe do something on their own for fire station, maybe at Station 12. So they're looking at options and alternatives. So I think, we'll have to be prepared in the event that we go separate ways or we just conclude, it's just not real to get the kind of money we need to build the design we have. So I just wanted to bring you guys up to speed, and that's a discussion for later. Okay, Brenna, you want to tell us what you learned from the timber operation and trucks coming into town?
Sure. It was just pretty quick, but I had a conversation with a gentleman that came in the market named Jeremy, and I'm just realizing I didn't catch his last name, but he works with Green Diamond, and he just wanted to let us know that they're starting a new logging project up on Husky and Elder. It sounds like the project will be starting next week and theoretically running for about 4 weeks or so. So he said we're going to see an increase in logging trucks coming through town. It's going to be pretty frequent. He said he's spoken with his crew and all of his drivers just about being really conscientious about driving through town, their speed, their noise, when they're coming down the hill and stuff. He seemed like, very knowledgeable stand-up guy. He's like, we're going to, try our best to not be obnoxious. And it sounded like they're going to be doing additional work through the whole summer, but he just really wanted us to know that this project is starting next week and we'll be seeing a lot of them. So just be prepared for that.
And Amy, you're going to post something on the website just to inform people that look at the website. So
yeah, I'm trying to gather up the detailed information and get a little bit more set up so I can have that put up properly.
Good.
Okay.
Good.
If you need help with that, Amy, let me know. I can probably get you. I don't know. I can track him down. I'll see him again.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, Charlie, you wanted to update on your conversation with Commissioner Hagee about the the reservoir and the Dalles?
Oh, I I haven't spoken further with Hagee, but it was just, you know, the idea of, and I don't know who's, if we have any city voice in regards to um you know, their continued use of municipal water, but I know that in the Hood River County, the Farmers Irrigation District has already issued um, letters to farmers saying, you know, if we have to shut off water, we can do so at any time given the low snowpack. And it just, to me, seems like priorities in this area with, you know, Hagee said that it doesn't necessarily heat up the water, but if they're using all the water to cool the system, then there's going to be evaporation, you know, you know, in some capacity. And I just, I just, it's more of a question than anything, but just, it seems like once they say yes to these continued, server farm cooling sites, they're going to be harder to stop. And with water shortages and the heating effect of the Columbia and toxic fish that we can't now eat, it's not going to get better. And I just think, you know, I don't know who's fighting that fight in the Dalles, but it seems like they should slow their progress from my standpoint.
Yeah.
You know, I think water for food is a little bit more important than water for kitty videos.
But it seems like that, you know, that we're going to entertain any action on. We need a whole set of facts. You know, there's the reservoir expansion, which when I went to Merkley's town hall a couple of weeks ago, the city manager in the pre-meeting with mayors and managers came up, and it was described by the city manager of the Dalles. That's only for the Dalles water. It's not, doesn't have to do with data centers or Google. So, I mean, Charlie, if you want to pursue this, I think we need more
Yeah.
homework to
Sure.
find out what the facts are, what's really proposed. Over. Andrea, go ahead. You're up. You're on mute.
I just wanted to follow on Charlie a little bit in that you know, there was a Facebook post about this. It's related to a House bill to provide additional watershed for the Dalles water
Yeah, what
system.
if I
And just we also have the Motorshed Watershed Council that I think would take this issue up.
Yeah, that's a good venue, good forum. Yeah, the project is Senator or Representative Bentz is working with the city to provide legislation for the Forest Service to convey land for the reservoir that's up there, existing reservoir, to be expanded. That's a project, increasing storage. And actually, you know, the way the city manager described it, what in their view, the city's view, it actually would improve water quality because you'd have more storage for use, you know, during the year. But, you know, again, that's kind of the fact-finding mission. You know, I've seen Columbia Insights put out an article opposing it for environmental impacts at the reservoir, et cetera. So, you know, we'd have to get way more informed, in my view. Okay, well, thanks, Charlie, for the update. Any other updates? Go ahead, Noah.
Just real quick, just in case I missed something, is there some action that we are looking at in regards to the proposed expansion of the reservoir data center? Is there something that we're
Not to my knowledge. You know, I think that's what Charlie is, you know, maybe perhaps suggesting. But again, I wouldn't be ready to take it up until, you know, we really know what the facts of the situation are. Does it affect our jurisdiction? Do we have any authority? You know, is it within our, you know, wheelhouse, so to speak? Okay, other updates from anyone? Andrea, anything else?
Not at this time. March 4th will be here before we know it. which will be our next council meeting. At this time, we don't really have much for the agenda, but that could change in a few days.
Yeah, okay. Okay. Hey, thanks all. Thanks for a good discussion, good meeting, and keep on keeping on. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you.
This
Thank you all.
meeting's
Good night,
now
folks.
adjourned.
You guys.
Good night.